Hello, this is Todd Hubbs, agricultural economist at the University of Illinois. Today I'm talking about my weekly outlook of May 6, 2019, soybean acreage and exports. Soybean prices have been under pressure over the last few weeks, basically due to two things: the potential for a switch out of corn acreage and other crops into soybean acreage, and the weakening soybean export pace we've seen this year. As we all know by now, this weekend on May 5th, President Trump tweeted out some discussion about raising tariffs on China, which has put the trade deal in peril a bit. And today we're seeing the result and a little preview of what a failure of the trade negotiations might mean for soybean prices. So I'm going to walk through where we are in soybean exports and what I see for the rest of the 18-19 marketing year, and then talk a little bit about acreage. Soybean exports through May 2nd are at about 1.24 billion bushels for this marketing year, which puts us needing about 640 million bushels to be exported from May to August to hit the target. Really the question now, even if we get a trade deal, is how much the USDA is going to drop the marketing year soybean exports. In this graph you're seeing what we need to hit the current projection, the last 4 marketing years, and the 5-year average. Last year was the highest of the last few marketing years at 479 million bushels, and that's not feasible in my opinion this year with the large crops coming out of South America, reduced demand due to African swine fever, and the trade dispute with China. I can't see us doing that kind of number again this year. The question is, how big will the drop be when the USDA finally does lower soybean exports? If we do not get a trade deal, we're looking at well over 1 billion bushels of carryout and ending stocks this marketing year, and that's just going to happen regardless. Right now, as of April 25th, we've had 473 million bushels of outstanding sales, and about 60% of that's to China. So even with the trade deal possibility in place maybe in June, we're not going to hit 1.875 billion bushels. No trade deal, triple-digit export reduction is going to be in place as we move through the summer due to all the supply and demand factors that are currently going on in the export market. Now, while trade has a bearish tilt these days, acreage is also looked at as a bit of a bearish scenario. Late planting, and particularly the corn crop, is well behind pace this year. Today they're going to release the crop progress report for May 3rd. Normally we're about 47% of the crop planted. I'd be surprised if we got over 20% of the crop planted. We're well behind, and there's a big expectation going on right now that they'll switch to corn acreage. I question the incentive for some people to do that based on the price relationship that's developed over the last few weeks. You know, in mid-April, the harvest soybean to corn price ratio was a little over 2.4, and now it's around 2.2 as of the close on Friday. And the question is, as we get to a place where we can plant, will the acreage shift to soybeans, or will people try to plant corn? You know, what you're seeing in this graph is the final acreage less March intentions. From about 2009 onward, you know, we've seen some large acreage increases in soybeans as we've seen this growth in demand in the world for soybeans in general. There have been a few years where it's gone down. And over the last 3 years, both corn and soybeans together have gone up from the March intentions report. Do I expect a switch into soybean acreage? I think so. The question is, will it be larger than the prevent plant acres we might see? And I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. While the switch may be on due to the late planting of corn and other spring crops this year into soybean acreage, I think we're going to see a large prevent plant number this year for both corn, soybeans, and other spring crops. What you're seeing in this graph is prevent plant acres from 2007 through 2018 for corn, soybeans, and then the total principal crop prevent plant. As you can see, the last 3 years we haven't had a lot of prevent plant in either corn or soybeans, but we have had years like 2015 where we had over 2 million acres of prevent plant in both corn and beans, and a lot of that came out of the northern plains. You know, based on the current pace and the weather we're seeing moving forward, as we get closer to those prevent plant dates, it may be a better economic decision for a lot of folks out there to do prevent plant. And I'm sort of expecting a large number this year. So the big question for me is if we do get an acreage switch into soybeans, will it be outpaced by prevent plant? Right now the USDA has acreage pegged at 84.6. We don't need any more acres of soybeans. Based on the prices we've seen recently, there's not a lot of incentive really to switch too much from corn to soybeans if you can get corn in, but both prices are atrocious based on what we've seen over the last few years. So as I'm looking at soybean acreage, the question is, will it go up or down? How much prevent plant, and will prevent plant outpace any kind of switching we might see due to agronomic conditions? Soybean prices are going to remain under pressure as long as we're under this uncertainty about a trade deal and all the uncertainty surrounding soybean acreage. We're getting a little taste right now of what soybean prices will look like if this trade deal doesn't come to fruition, and it's not pretty. I'm a little bit more optimistic that soybean acreage won't increase as much as many people think. I'm sort of in the 1 million acre range, but we could see prevent plant be quite large this year. So while there's a lot of bearish factors out there, the main one being the trade uncertainty and the large crops in South America and the loss of demand in China due to African swine fever, acreage may not be as bearish as we're currently thinking it is right now. But we'll find out on June 28th when we get the acreage report how much soybean acres actually went in. I'd like to thank you for your time. You can find my weekly outlook and daily analysis of issues related to Corn Belt farm economics at farm.daily.illinois.edu. I look forward to seeing you around the state of Illinois.